Hello and welcome to On the Sunny Side, a new digital TV format of F15. I'm Sunny Greneveld. I'm an entrepreneur and under 30 list maker, and every week I talk to business leaders, entrepreneurs, researchers, people who are shaping the digital economy and who are using tech for good. Now today I'm absolutely excited to be hosting Cindy Gallop. She's an extraordinary guest and the CEO and founder of MakeLoveNotPorn. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sunny. Thrilled to be here.
So for those who tune in regularly to On the Sunny Side or who have subscribed, find the subscribe button down below, they know I always start these shows with something I call Sunny's Fast Five. Quick questions to introduce you as a guest to my audience, briefly, but hopefully also originally. So are you ready for that?
I am indeed.
Excellent. So are you a morning or a night person, Cindy?
I'm a morning person.
If I gave you a time machine and you could travel any place in the world to any time period, past, present, future, where would you go?
I would, if I had the opportunity to travel to any time period, I would want to, I think, go back to the Renaissance. And I would like to intervene to ensure that women, artists, scientists, explorers, inventors were given as much opportunity as men were to make as many extraordinary discoveries, create as many things, and craft as much amazing art as all those male scientists, explorers, and artists got to.
Traveling back to the present, what is a question that's top of mind for you these days?
Well, as a single woman in lockdown, the most burning question of the moment is, when on earth will I ever get to have sex again?
And what is success for you?
Success for me is living a life and working work where you know you are always being true to yourself and your values. That to me is the secret of true happiness.
There have been in the past moments that have shaped you very much. And I just want to zoom in on one of them, which is when Make Love Not Porn launched. It launched within 4 minutes of a TED Talk that to this day has amassed close to 3 million views, if not more, and has been probably one of the most talked about TED Talks of all time. Can you take us back to that moment?
Sure, and you know, it's very funny, you know, how pivotal that moment was, for all sorts of reasons. I mean, the first is that everything in my life and career has happened by accident. I've never planned anything. And so that moment in Make Love Not Porn was an accident. You know, so I date younger men, they tend to be men in their 20s, and 12 years ago, I realized through dating younger men that I was encountering what happens when two things converge. And I stress the dual convergence because most people think it's only one thing. I realized I was experiencing what happens when today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex. When those two factors converge, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. So I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes in bed. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I did not know that, Sunny, because 12 years ago, nobody was talking about this. Nobody was writing about it. This was me in isolation as a naturally action-oriented person going, I want to do something about this. So, you know, purely as a little side venture 11 years ago, I put up on no money this tiny clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that in its original iteration was just words. The construct was porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world. And every year, TED used to basically put out a call to attendees, inviting applications to do short talks on the main stage in between the scheduled talks, what TED curator Chris Anderson calls palate cleansers. And so I submitted that year, Make Love Not Porn, half as a joke. I just thought, love to see Chris Anderson's face when he sees this. And to give him his due, he took it very seriously. He got straight back to me, said, gosh, Cindy, this is clearly an issue. I want you to do this talk. I just have to know exactly what you plan to present, because I hadn't built the site yet, so he wasn't entirely sure. So we had a long phone conversation about it. And, he was wonderfully supportive. He gave me a really great speaking slot on the first day of TED in 2009, in the second session of the day, after Bill Gates spoke in the first session. And, the funny thing about how long ago this was is that, first of all, TED.com and the TED Talk videos were not the big thing then they are now. So as far as I was concerned, I was only speaking to the people in the room. And the second thing was that, again, that was so long ago that TED did not rehearse my talk beforehand. They had no idea what I was going to say on stage until I said it. That would never happen today, when every TED speaker is rehearsed within an inch of their life. And so, I went out on stage and became the first and to date only TED speaker to utter the words "come on my face" on the TED stage, 6 times in succession. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from every country in the world, young and old, male and female, straight and gay, and I realized I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. I was the very first person ever to stand up on stage and publicly identify this issue of porn becoming sex education all those years ago. And so that was what made me feel I had a personal responsibility to turn Make Love Not Porn into something that would be much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. And it was also what made me see an opportunity to live my own philosophy. Because I believe the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously. I saw the opportunity for a big business solution to this huge untapped global need. And I use the word big advisedly, Sunny, because even then, 11 years ago at concept stage, I knew if I wanted to counter the global impact of porn as default sex ed, I would have to come up with something that at least had the potential one day to be just as mass, just as mainstream, and just as all pervasive in our society as porn currently is. And so that's why I was thinking big from the get-go. And that's what turned into MakeLoveNotPorn.tv and me pioneering this whole new category of social sex.
The whole social media space, in a way, and social connection space is very young. So you're at the frontier of that. You are at the frontier of changing a social and cultural norm around sex. And you are at the same time, it's sort of the triple challenge. At the same time, you are also looking to do this in an area of society that has so many taboos in different parts, in all parts of the world, in one way or another. So having been in this for over 10 years now, what keeps you motivated?
So I want to make 3 specific responses to that question, Sunny, because I think it's important for your audience to understand the broader implications of what I'm doing. First of all, you're absolutely right. What I realized when I got that extraordinary response to MakeLoveNotPorn.com was that, Make Love Not Porn is not anti-porn because the issue isn't porn. The issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world. If we did, amongst a whole host of other benefits, people would then be able to bring a real world mindset to the viewing of what is simply produced performative entertainment. So that's why, our tagline at Make Love Not Porn is pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. And that's why our single-minded mission is one very simple thing: to help make it easier for everybody in the world to talk openly and honestly about sex. And given that mission of talk about it, I decided to take every dynamic in social media and apply them to this one area no other social network or platform will go, in order to socialize sex and to make real world sex and talking about it socially acceptable and ultimately just as socially shareable as anything else we share on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. And so that's why at Make Love Not Porn, we call ourselves the social sex revolution. The revolutionary part is not the sex, it's the social. But the holistic context for this, and why what I'm doing has broad implications, is this. The young white male founders of the giant tech platforms that dominate our lives today are not the primary targets, online and offline, of harassment, abuse, racism, sexual assault, rape, revenge porn. Therefore, they did not and they do not proactively design for the prevention of any of those things on their platforms. Those of us who are most at risk every single day: women, Black people, people of color, LGBTQ, the disabled, we design safe spaces and safe experiences. I and my team spent literally years concepting and designing Make Love Not Porn before we ever built it, because we knew that if we were going to invite people to do something they'd never done before, socially share their real world sex, we would need to think through every possible ramification of that to create a completely safe and trustworthy social space. As a result, not only do we operate unlike anybody else in the adult sphere, we operate unlike anybody else on the internet, period. And a key part of that is that I designed Make Love Not Porn around something no other social platform does, but everybody should: human curation. Our curators watch every single video submitted to Make Love Not Porn from beginning to end before we approve it for publishing. Our curators view every single post on what we call Make Love Not Porn Social, the ability to post photographs, text, illustration to your profile before we publish it. We review every single comment on every single video before we decide to publish it. And that is why, ironically, Make Love Not Porn as a social sex video sharing platform is one of the safest places on the internet, because we can vouch for every single piece of content on our platform in a way that no other site can. And that is why at Make Love Not Porn, you will find nothing but love. We celebrate nothing but love. We showcase nothing but love. We are a place only of positivity and love. And the third and last response I make to your question, Sunny, is, and just for your audience, the one thing I didn't realize when I embarked on this venture was that I would fight an enormous battle every single day to build it. Essentially because every piece of business infrastructure other tech startups get to take for granted, I can't. The small print always says no adult content. And this is all pervasive across, challenges getting funded, getting banked, putting payments in place, using tech services. And so the thing that most keeps me going through all of this, the social dynamic that makes me just determine that I will overcome all of these challenges, is the one that I articulate as, and forgive me, I'm going to use a profanity here, you can always beat me out in the final version. It's a dynamic that I call, I'm going to fucking well show you. You tell me it can't be done, I'm going to fucking well show you. You put an obstacle in my path, I'm going to fucking well show you. I have to channel all of that frustration, all of those challenges into motivation, inspiration every single day in order to be determined to overcome them. And, that combined with every single day, our members at Make Love Not Porn write to us and tell us how we changed their lives. Because as an utterly unique venture, we have an utterly unique capability. We have the power to change people's sexual attitudes and behavior for the better. I see the evidence of that traction every day. I know that when I get Make Love Not Porn funded at scale, we can change the world through sex. And so I'm going to fucking well show you.
One thing that you've said in, I think, even several interviews is you will never own the future if you care what other people think. How does that translate into your leadership in a sort of day-to-day basis within your team?
There are many people living lives they don't want to live because of fear of what other people will think. And there are many people impacting their ability to lead companies and do business in the way that they would like because of fear of what other people will think. And, you know, I'll give you a couple of examples of that from my own business observations. For years, I've had to say to my employees in whatever company I've been leading, it is more important to be respected and not necessarily liked than to be liked and not necessarily respected. And I've had occasion to say that because, and by the way, I will say, you know, it's rather ironic that I've had to say this to many more men than women, because there are people who desperately want to be liked by their employees who are not willing to make the tough decisions. And the reason I emphasize it is more important to be respected and not necessarily liked is because when the chips are down and times are really tough, people want the kind of leader who will get them through those tough times, leaders with backbones versus the leader who is frightfully nice to have a drink with down the pub, but who is never going to make it through those tough times because they can't bear to make tough decisions that not everyone might like and be comfortable with. So that is an example of where fear of what other people will think is very damaging to doing the right thing for your business, doing the right thing for leadership. You know, another example I'll give, and I'll use my own industry in this context, the advertising industry. My background is 35 years working in brand building, marketing, advertising. I've observed that we don't have enough innovation in the new advertising agencies that get launched. And that's because those agencies are often started by people, predominantly men, who have had very long, celebrated, storied careers in advertising. And you will never truly disrupt the advertising industry if, when you launch your own agency, you enormously care what the trade press says about it. In advertising, that's Advertising Age, Adweek campaign. But by the way, extrapolate what I'm saying to other industries. When people start their own ventures, if you are doing something truly innovative and disruptive, you need not to give a damn what anybody else thinks of what you're doing. Because if you worry about public opinion, you will never be as innovative and disruptive as you will need to be to do something truly extraordinary.
If you could give, during COVID-19, and we're here, I'm based in Zurich, Switzerland, and we're seeing quite a spike in cases. So we're looking to more home office, more staying at home, and so on. What are some of the reading, podcast, Netflix recommendations you might have for anyone who's bracing himself for a challenging winter?
I would highly recommend, first of all, my friend Thomas Hamora Premuzic's book, which I think everybody should read. His book came out of, he wrote a Harvard Business Review article 7 years ago that is the Harvard Business Review's most read article of all time. The article was called, "Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders?" And the premise in Thomas's article was, we focus quite rightly on the huge number of obstacles faced by brilliant women, but a far bigger problem is the lack of obstacles for incompetent men. This article was so popular that Thomas wrote a book also called "Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders?" When you and your audience buy and read that book, you will see that I blurbed it, and I said this is the single most important business leadership book of our time, and it is. And it's important for men as much as women, because men, you too, find it utterly demotivating and demoralizing to work in business environments where There were no obstacles for incompetent men around you, above you, that you have to report into. And I recommend that book because that will give you a completely different lens on the future of business. The second book I would love you to read is the one that I'm going to write myself. So, so look out for that.
Oh, well, that's news. Tell us, can you tell us anything about it? Any teaser?
I can't because, you know, I'm working on it with my book agent. But, you know, I will just say that I really want to help everybody see how much every single one of us can change the world to be what we want it to be. And so the best thing anybody can do when we go through what we're all going to find a very depressing, long, hard winter is really, you know, you have the time now to plan for what you want to do during and on the other side of this. And I would absolutely seize that opportunity. Again, as I said, adversity drives opportunity. And the most cheering thing you can do is think about how you can make all of this adversity work for you to do the things you've always wanted to do, to change the world to be the one we all want to live and work in.
So I were to give you the biggest billboard in any place you want in this world, what would you have it say?
Oh, that's very easy, Sunny, because I would just have it say in very big letters, MakeLoveNotPorn.com. And the reason I say that, I love your question because last year we tried to buy a billboard here in New York. Our investor had given us a round of funding, and the one thing he'd said was, because he travels to New York regularly, and he said, Cindy, you know that point when you take a taxi from JFK to come to Manhattan, and you come over the brow of the hill, and you see the Manhattan skyline spread out in front of you, that glorious moment. He said, I want us to put up a billboard right there with Make Love Not Porn in huge pink neon, so Make Love Not Porn appears as part of the Manhattan skyline. I loved that vision. And then what I found was that nobody would let me put Make Love Not Porn on a billboard because we are a sex tech startup. And it was outrageous. All we wanted to do was just have it say literally MakeLoveNotPorn.com, that's it. Go to a completely safe work homepage. We were prepared to pay the money and we were not allowed to advertise. That is an example of what I battle every single day. And so if I could put that billboard up anywhere in the world, it would absolutely say MakeLoveNotPorn.com, because if the world went to our website, you know, we are sexual self-help. We can change sexual attitudes and behaviors for the better. We can change the world through sex. And that is what, that is my entire life's mission. That's what I want to make happen.
Cindy, thank you so much for just such an insightful conversation.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. And everybody who's listening, please, you know, join us at MakeLoveNotPorn.com. Consider becoming a Make Love Not Porn star. And any investors who want to fund what has the potential to be a billion-dollar unicorn, changing the world through sex, please email Cindy at MakeLoveNotPorn.com.